What's up guys, this is Sean and welcome to another episode of the iherng podcast, and today let's answer another question from email. This is from Danny. Hi Sean, I am a new viewer to your channel and first of all I want to thank you for all the great content. It's really helpful. For context, I'm 23 years old, single, no commitments, currently renting a room in Mid Valley at 750 ringgit and working near the TTDI station. I've just started a new job last month earning 3,300 and I'm excited at the prospect of potentially buying my first property next year for my own stay. Based on my research, after April next year, I should be able to get a home loan up to 300,000 based on my salary. As for my requirements, I don't drive, so I will need to live somewhere within walking distance of public transport. But I will be living alone, so even a studio is fine as my budget is quite tight. I have looked at studios and 1 to 2 bedroom apartments, both in new project and sub-sales, and I found that my best bet would probably be a sub-sales studio. I've looked across quite a few buildings. The below 2 buildings are representatives of my entire search. Hence, I'm hoping that I could get your opinion on a couple of options I'm considering. Number 1, there's a condo within walking distance of Taman Suntec MRT where I could consider getting a studio unit. The pros of the condo is it's directly connected to the MRT, a decent size for a studio, and the asking price fits within my budget. The main con is it's about 47 minutes away from my workplace. I think I could live with it as my current commute to work as is about the same amount of time, plus I need to change LRT to MRT. But if I move job to another company in KL in 5 years time, I worry that it will be too far away by public transport. Number 2, there is a condo located within walking distance of Bukit Bintang MRT where I could also get a studio. The pros of this is in a prime location, being in Bukit Bintang, and my commute to work will take under half an hour. Being that it's so close to central KL, I also wouldn't have to worry about moving jobs within KL. The cons, it would be more expensive. At the very least about 300,000, and that it's smaller at 420 square feet. With this price, it wouldn't leave much in the bank to decorate and renovate as much as I like for my first home. The different floor plan layout makes it feel much smaller than the first unit. I'm personally okay with staying in a small unit for now, but I'm not sure how I feel in coming years if I want people to come over. Number 3, I could wait for a few years for my salary to improve and buy a slightly bigger unit in a strategic location, which my parents recommended. The pros of this would be that I don't need to deal with the hassle of selling a not quite right unit in 5 years time or having to manage a tenant if I rent it out, as I'm not sure whether I have it in me to be a landlord. The con is that it's likely that the property prices will increase faster than my salary, so I think maybe it's better to buy what I can when I can. Would really appreciate your thoughts on this. Like you, I'm more inclined to prioritize convenience, so I'm leaning towards option 2, but I'm hesitant to buy an expensive prime area shoebox. But I'd say my main concern is whether to buy next year or wait. Thank you for reading. Take care, stay safe, Danny. So thank you very much, Danny. Just to clarify the email again, 23 years old, thinking about buying a property next year, and the decision is between Taman Suntec MRT station. We all know which project it is, we have reviewed that before. The second one would be one apartment in Bukit Bintang. So the question is whether to buy next year or to wait until the salary increase to buy a better unit. First thing first, I think it's cool that you find out how much you can loan, how much you can pay. I think it's very cool that you have done your work in research, especially on your affordability part, right? Like exactly next year, because after confirmation I got 6 months, I can get a loan of 300,000. Therefore, once I get the loan approved, I will go and buy this property. I think that's very good. Secondly, about the intent of getting a home for own stay, that's something that we really need to talk about, right? Because at your age, right, you have not figured out a lot of things, like your career pathway, like you barely stepped into the working culture, the workspace, right? And if you have not even tried a lot of things yet, why would you want to commit yourself in a 35 years commitment? Let's say a 300,000 property, right? You'll most likely take up maybe 900 to 1,000 of your salary, and you are working at 3.3 thousand, 12% for EPF and SOC, so you're left you're left with maybe 2,006. Then 2,006, you pay 1,000 just for a house, then left 1,006 in the CBD, right? Every day you get to like spend how much only. Then when that happens, you are in a situation where you need to work for the house. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that buying a property is wrong here, but I'm trying to say that the intent is not exactly right. Exactly like what you wrote. What if you change job? What if you change this? What if you change that? What if you move up into the career pathway, then suddenly it's not connected via the LRT anymore? Would you offer a job that pays you 6,000, but just because it's not close to an MRT station, you say no? No, right? So eventually you will need a car. Eventually. Takkan you take Grab every day, right? So rather than an own stay approach, right, I would suggest to look at it as an investment property. Taman Santex and the Bukit Bintang property, right, I will look at rental returns. Which property gets a better rental return? I will let that dictate the decision-making process instead of what I like. Because to me, why are you renting a house in Mid Valley when you work in TTDI? Why don't you just rent a place in TTDI? Because you are renting. Like what you said, convenience should be your priority. And what comes with convenience? Flexibility. And at your age, you need to be flexible from several aspects. Number one, physically, right? Just because you have no commitment, suddenly a call, like, do you want to work in Bangkok? Double the pay. No brainer, right? Basically, it means that you are able to locate yourself anywhere in the world to work. Secondly, flexible in terms of financial. By tying yourself down with a property immediately a year after you work, suddenly that becomes a reason for you not being able to take up job offers that are further away. Suddenly, Johor wants you to work there, then maybe Sarawak wants you to work there. Then what happens to this home? Thirdly, the flexibility in terms of your career. Because I don't think you have figured out whether you really like the job that you are having right now, right? Then maybe 4 years, 5 years later, you figured out like the life of my manager or my boss is not exactly what I want. Like for sure, for the next 15-20 years, you will end up exactly like your managers, right? Because you just move up the corporate ladder. Is that something you want? If not, suddenly you will start thinking about, hey, what can I do? Can I sell properties? Can I sell insurance? Can I sell bonds? Can I start up my own thing? Should I set up a stall for bubble tea? Should I start up a shop or whatsoever, right? So that flexibility needs to be somewhat included in your decision making as well. And all those kind of decisions most likely will require a lot of capital. Whether you like it or not, you will need money in that sense. So all of that being said, before you found your dream job, I don't think you should be thinking about having your own space lah. It's just more sensible to rent closer to your workspace lah. And buying that property with that own stay mentality is just restricting the potential of your money. So to me, again, right, regardless of whatever I just said, the main consideration factor for your decision-making process would be the rental returns. Let's say this one 300,000, right? The monthly installment is around 900 to 1,001. If the rental there can be 1,003, go ahead, no brainer. Why? 2 to 3 years later, after you get the keys to the property, you are in this position in your workspace where suddenly you want to change job already. Like basically every 2 to 3 years, people are changing job nowadays, especially for corporate people. So by that time, maybe you will meet your other half, your needs are entirely different. Suddenly, you have this need to impress others already. You get influenced by social media. Then when you get the keys to this property, you can make the decision whether to rent out or you want to stay yourself. Because you can always rent other places. But this property generally is an investment to its core. You want to move overseas, no problem. It's an investment. If you cannot manage yourself, you can hire somebody else to manage for you. And that's exactly what I'm doing for my property as well. I do not have the time to go and settle the plumbing, the paint, the furniture, the clubhouse access or whatsoever, right? I will get somebody else to do it for me. Because I think at this current state, it's just way too early to talk about the house that you want to stay. You can always rent the place that you want to stay. Because 4 to 5 years later, exactly like what your parents say, they are right. Wait until your salary increase further, then you get your second one. Today, you buy the property where the estimated rental can cover your installment. 2-3 years later, you have been working 2 to 3 years already. Your salary may be at this state 4,000, 4,003, maybe increase 1,000. So throughout these 2 to 3 years, you need to figure out how to save up around 20,000 to 30,000 just to furnish up the place to ensure that it can be rented out quickly. Then at that time, you have this option when you are earning 4,003. Do you want to spend 1,001 a month to stay in this apartment because maybe your company got new location or you are working in a new company already? So just be flexible about it. And if this location of property is not convenient for you, rent it out. Then the rental can somewhat cover the installment and that will not affect your DSR for your next property. Suddenly, your salary 4,003 can entirely be used for the consideration of the bank for your next property purchase. So within these 2 to 3 years after you buy this property, there will be two intentions. One, to save up the renovation cost. The next one will be to hunt for the next upcoming investment property that you're going to acquire. But that's not going to take up all your time. You're going to figure out your career, you're going to figure out your passion, and at the same time have some fun. Of course, you're so young, my god. And that would be my recommendation. So whatever criteria that you have imposed on the selection of property, right? Yes, it's somewhat valid, but I think this conversation needs to be had like maybe 7 years later until like when you're 28 or 29, right? you have a girlfriend and that time you really need to settle down before she says yes to your proposal. But just by switching the intent of purchase, it becomes an investment first kind of property. Everything else makes sense. Again, I've always encouraged youngsters to get properties earlier and to get your first property as your investment property, because what you don't want is you really like this property, you are willing to pay big bucks for it, but it's only you. No one else is willing to pay such a high rental. Therefore, it becomes a burden that you carry around for the next 35 years. Suddenly, because of the house, you cannot change job. Who's going to live here? If I don't live here, I need to pay rental and I still need to somewhat cover the installment because the rental cannot cover it all. Then because of the every month bleeding in terms of cash flow, your money commitment is just too high. You don't have enough disposable income to explore other form of investment. Like suddenly Bitcoin is hot now, you don't have money. Business is hot now, you got no money. You want to try a new idea, no money. And those are just the other extreme of things if you really pick whatever you like first, right? So let the figures tell you what to do. And I think that's all for this episode. Thank you very much for the email, Danny, and I hope that answer helps. And for those who still have any questions, you can just email me at taniherng@gmail.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram. Another option would be to click the link below and insert your question at Ask Guru Forum by Property Guru. Just in case I couldn't get back to your questions on time, there will be other experts that can actually help you as well. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching and see you on the next one. Ciao.